This meeting of the Haltom City Council is now called to order. Invocation and Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Kim Reese.
Thank you. All right, thank you, guys. If we could bow our head. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the many blessings we have been given. We ask that you bless those less fortunate. We ask that you give us the strength, wisdom, and courage to do what is acceptable in your eyes and in the best interest of our great city. Please watch over our soldiers as they protect the freedoms we enjoy. We ask you this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have the announcements and events, upcoming events. Chuck Barnett, our Assistant City Manager, will make those announcements.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen. A couple announcements. The community is invited to our groundbreaking ceremony, to which we're extremely excited about, signaling the start of our construction of the new Haltom City Library. The event will begin at 9 a.m. this Wednesday, July the 11th. The site is located at the 4800 block of Haltom Road near the intersection of Haltom Road and Spring Lake Parkway. If you take Spring Lake off 377, it'll dead right into Haltom Road, and you'll see where we're set up with our tent for the groundbreaking. The finale for the 2007 summer reading program will take place this Friday, July the 13th at 2 p.m. More than 500 readers took part in this year's program, which was entitled Sail Away with Books. The finale will feature a performance by the Grace Hula Dancers. The program participants are reminded to turn in their reading logs by Wednesday, July 11th, to be counted toward prizes and certificates. The Fort Worth Cats baseball team will honor Haltom City firefighters and our CERT, which is our Community Emergency Response Team volunteers, at their baseball game scheduled for Sunday, July the 22nd at LaGrave Field. One of the firefighters will throw out the first pitch. This is well-deserved pat on the back for our firefighters and our volunteers, especially following the recent events that we've had in our city. The Quad Cities Family 4th of July fireworks display last week was a big success, attracting an estimated 25,000 spectators. Haltom City Parks and Recreation staff mowed and prepared the fireworks launch site, which is not a small measure but due to the rain we'd had. Haltom City Public Works crews put out trash receptacles that were donated by IESI and set up traffic barriers. Afterwards, a street sweeper was brought in and cleaned the BISD parking lot. The Haltom City Fire Department was on standby with the emergency response team, and our Haltom City police personnel provided security and facilitated traffic flow. The Quad Cities family of Haltom City, North Richland Hills, and Richland Hills, as well as the Quad City Foundation, sponsored the free event. If you want additional information on some of the items that I've brought forward, please contact our website. That's www.haltomcitytx.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Now you're going to do the other part up here? All right. Then Assistant City Manager will now address some of the recent flooding in our city. Bring us up to date.
Thank you, Mayor. And I see in the audience some of the people that I've had an opportunity to meet who were victims of the tragedies that we've had through our flooding and through the recent rains. First off, and I think it's important for everyone to note, that the events as far as it takes place for those who were affected by the rain, this has been expanded for the dates of June 16th through June 26th. And that what that means is if you incurred damage or flooding by the disasters, that you can go to FEMA and you need to meet with them, give your name, your number, and they'll get additional information from you for relief. Now, the relief is going to vary in different amounts, and I'm not sure exactly what that is. I have not sat down and actually gone through the process. FEMA has set up at 5517 Denton Highway, and that's the old Ready Mix building. Once you go into the door, there's some parking there. We have handicap accessibility for the front and the back of the building, and staff there will then lead you through and have you sit down with one of their representatives. That was no small measure to what we needed to do immediately as far as the city securing a site. FEMA wanted to come in immediately and set up so they could start taking care of the victims. We looked at 3 sites. 2 of the sites did not work out for us, and then Ready Mix, which was formerly U.S. Concrete, which has bought out that business, has negotiated with the city, and we have signed a sublease for the use of that facility. They will be there for at least 2 months, and it could go even longer. As far as the rest of the activities that are going on with the flooding, ISI still has the dumpsters, which are down there, those roll-offs. I need to visit with them to see if they're going to continue to have those dumpsters available in Skyline so the residents continue to clean up that area. We still have residents down there that most of the people have moved out of the Skyline Mobile Home Park, and then out where you have the Buffalo Ridge, which has also got another tragedy with the erosion that has taken place on these homes. We're going to go in, we're going to we'll get the permission of the people to see if we can't rope off to make sure that nobody is climbing up the soil embankments which back up to those homes. I was informed by our fire chief earlier today that they did have to run off some kids down there that were playing. That is not a playground. It's very dangerous. The soil is very loose, and so we need to make sure the integrity of that soil is maintained until we have a chance to have this dry out and then see what measures we're going to take from here. Any additional, Mayor?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Appreciate it. I do want to note we have some absences here. In place 3, Mr. Cabano had a personal emergency tonight, and Councilman Clark came ill. He's had a series of issues with some illness, a mysterious illness that he's been battling, I think, for about a couple of months now, but he had to flare up again this afternoon, and so he's not here. And then Tom Muir, our city manager, is off seeing his son off to the U.S. Army, and so they've had some special family time tonight as he sees his son off to the Army, so we appreciate that. The next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Consent agenda is considered to be self-explanatory and will be enacted by the council with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Approval of the consent agenda authorizes the city manager to implement each item in accordance with staff or board recommendations. Our consent agenda tonight will not include item 2. Item 2 has been stricken from the consent agenda, so it will consist of items 1, 3, and 4. Ms. Bransom.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1, 3, and 4 as presented.
Ms. Reese.
That'd be for a second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 1, 3, and 4. Any discussion? Seeing none, please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Item 2 is water and sanitary sewer system map updates. Chuck, you want to bring us up to snuff on that?
Yes, sir, Mayor. The city recently completed our storm water master plan, and our updated map of our storm drain systems was one of the deliverables that we received. What we have before the council tonight was a professional services agreement with T. Nolan Perkins to where we would update our sanitary sewer system maps and provide electronic copies of the maps, which is important when we start looking at the infrastructure of our city. The city has old infrastructure, which is underneath the ground. You've had development, you've had streets that have been built, widened, realigned, and et cetera, and we need to be sure we know where this system is located. As part of this, I've asked for the council to table this item tonight because we did a recent technology study to where Tatum and Associates came in and did a review of all of our technology needs within our city. Which falls under that is our GIS, which is what this would involve. With the GIS updated maps, I'm wanting to have this reviewed by our Technology Oversight Committee, which will have a chance to review this, and then we'll bring this back to the council. There is nothing wrong with what we're trying to do at this point, which on the agenda, I just wanted to have a chance for the Oversight Committee to look at that. The Oversight Committee of our technology in our city is reviewing, or did review this morning, all of the technology requests for the city for the current year's budget, and also has reviewed all the technology requests for next year's budget. I'm wanting to include this in there. I want to put everything through the same process. So with that, I've asked the city manager and I've asked the mayor and the council to table this item for tonight, and I'll bring this back to them in a future date.
Thank you, Chuck. Chris, you have a question?
Yes, Mayor. Chuck, do you know when this item might find its way back to us? You know approximately how long?
I'm not going to give you a time frame, Chris. This will not impact any of our projects, which will be coming to the council. We'll continue on with those projects, bring those back to you for approval and design. We've been working many, many years without this GIS map. This is another tool that we can use as far as making sure that everything we're doing with the contractors is in place, and that we can update those as we go along. So at this point, give me a couple of weeks. Again, I apologize to the council. We got behind because of the flooding and the other issues that have befell our city, and I want to have the technology group have a chance to review this. I chair that committee, and then I want to make sure that we're following the same process for everything now and in the future.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. I want to add that this is exactly what the council had in mind when we set up the committee, and this is good. This is getting our arms around what all's going on in every department, and getting us on the same page, and I appreciate that. Mr. Sutton.
I'm ready to make a motion, Mayor.
All right. We'll entertain a motion.
All right. Move to table agenda item number 2, water and sanitary sewer system map updates, so that the in-house technology oversight committee can review this and bring it back to the council.
Ms. Branson.
That would be for a second, Mayor.
Been moved and seconded to table or the item number 2. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll take a vote. Please rest your vote. That is unanimous, so that is tabled. Next item on the agenda comes under the public hearings section of our agenda. Item 5, ordinance number O2007-014-03, conduct a public hearing and consideration or action on approving a fiscal year 2006-2007 budget amendment, and Financial Director Joel Welch will present that.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. Included in your packet is ordinance number 2007-014-03, and it pertains to some mid-course corrections that we're asking the council to consider in the fiscal year 2007 budget. The cumulative effects of all these changes will actually be to reduce the budget from the adopted amount of $65,396,000 to $64,004,000, and these are, I'm just rounding to the nearest thousand. Basically, there's 2 items driving the budget down in that total. Both of them involve transfers. One of the transfers was for a transfer from the drainage utility to the capital projects fund for when we sold the certificates of obligation that we sold last summer. Well, in fact, we got that deal completed during the fiscal year 2006, made the transfer during fiscal year 2006, so there is no need to make another transfer in 2007. So we're asking for that to be eliminated. That was $1,079,000. The other item that we're asking to be done away with is a interfund transfer of $811,000 that was to be made between the Economic Development Corporation's operating fund and the Economic Development Corporation incentive fund. In October, when we went on our new financial system, we merged those two funds together. So in fact, all the resources were already commingled, and again, the transfer was made unnecessary. As far as the other funds for the city, there are about 4 changes to the general fund that we're seeking. Earlier this year, the council approved a salary and compensation study in the amount of $40,000, and we were going to bring back a budget amendment for that, and it's included in this request. Also, the council had approved contracts for an IT study and IT master plan in the cumulative amount of $64,608. Some costs related to the demolition of the old nursing home over on Midway. These are not personnel costs, they are just contract service costs in the amount of $43,007. And then after the April 13th tornado, we had engaged services of IESI for some special debris collection, and that totaled $10,614. So that's the amount being sought for the general fund. Also, in creating the new financial system, we had created another fund in the organization chart that is called Grant Fund. It's our fund number 19. This fund gives us the ability to track all of our grant activity separately from the general fund, because that's where most of the grant money has been accounted for historically. And at the end of the day, all of the grant funds were being put in with the other general operating funds, and we wanted to create this grant fund, and that's being created in the amount of $276,932. This money represents grants that have already been submitted for council consideration. They've already been awarded. Most of them are in the police and fire category. FEMA grants for the fire department, the STEP wave and STEP. There's another STEP grant, but they're primarily overtime grants for the police department. And then there were some other smaller grants like the Lone Star for the library. But all of these grants together make the $276,932. Also, in our special revenue funds, we were going to be asking the council to consider about $62,000 in budget amendments. $15,000 of this would go to the juvenile caseworker fund. We asked the council just a few months ago to approve a fee to finance a juvenile caseworker project. We are still looking to seek a person for that position with next year's budget. But we asked the council to go, or we're asking the council to go ahead and authorize funds so that we may do the initial startup costs for getting this operation going. The crime district is seeking an appropriation of $1,391 to use some leftover local law enforcement block grant funds. They're already in the crime district fund, but they just hadn't been spent yet. Another $3,400 is being sought for shelving and a storage building for the animal shelter from the Animal Shelter Donation Fund. From the Police Donation Fund, there's funds being requested to finance National Night Out Kickoff, trading cards, and uniforms for the Honor Guard and new recruits. There's also an increase in funding in the Park Donation Fund from $40,500 to $62,000 to support some further park improvements. And then lastly, $2,990 is being requested for the Court Technology Fund to finance the purchase of a new notebook, computer, software, and printer. And that's actually to enable the court, when it's functioning, we will have the notebook and the printer up at the dais here for when the court's in session. They will be able to take the information, the judge's renderings, enter them into the system, and they'll go into our Encode court system when the verdict is rendered, so that when people go over to take care of a ticket or whatever, all the information is already over there. We're not hand carrying things. So that's going to be a real advantage for us. In all the cases of the special revenue funds, these appropriations are from funds that have been received. It's not a prospective type thing. And as you know, in a number of these special donation funds, we start the year with a zero budget, and then we ask the council for the authority to spend the money as we go. Of course, this is an item that will require a public hearing, and then to be followed with consideration of the ordinance.
Thank you, Joel. Any questions from the dais for Mr. Welch? Thank you, Joel. It is a public hearing, so the mic is open for anyone in the audience who wishes to make a comment or ask any questions about this item. Any comments or questions about the proposed budget changes? If not, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to dispose. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve item number 5, 0-2007-014-03.
Mr. Sutton.
That's for a second.
Been moved and seconded to approve item 5, ordinance number O-2007-014-03. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. Next item is item 6, ordinance number O-2007-013-15. This is a zoning change up on Denton Highway. Chuck, are you going to, or is Mr. Pliska going to bring that?
I'll do this one if you don't mind, Mayor.
Okay.
This is a public hearing consideration by an applicant that went to P&Z. Its conversion, or the zoning changes from residential to commercial. This particular applicant, their business will be located on 377. P&Z did review this application, and they did approve it. It was a unanimous decision to approve this application, which is why it's before the council tonight for approval. However, today we received a letter from TxDOT of some concerns they had as related to the business, and most of it has to do with the size of the driveway which goes off 377 into the commercial business. The concern is by TxDOT, if people are waiting to get in the business and someone's already there and they're trying to leave, you'd have to, you might potentially back up traffic on 377, and you potentially could have an accident. So that was their concern, and rightfully so. So what I've asked the council to do tonight, because of the concerns of the parking, the widening of the driveway approach, is to kick this back to P&Z, let them review this one more time, let them look at the support documentation from TxDOT, and then we'll bring it back to the council for approval. We've already contacted the applicant. They're in concert and agreement to go back to P&Z for this particular item.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Any questions from the dais for Chuck Barnett? If not, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing section here. It may be a moot point, but this is a public hearing, so we'll see if anyone has any comments about the item 6 has been presented, the zoning case. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and entertain motion to dispose. Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we send this ordinance number 0-2007-013-Z01106 back to the P&Z for review based on the information that we've just received from TxDOT today, and based upon what our assistant city manager just made mention of.
All right, we have a motion. Ms. Branson.
That'll be for a second, Mayor.
Been moved and seconded to send item 6, the ordinance O-2007-013-15, back to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any further discussion? Please register your vote. That is unanimous. Next on our agenda is the Visitor Citizen Forum. This time is set aside for any person having business before the council that is not scheduled on the agenda to speak to the council. All comments must be directed toward the presiding officer rather than an individual council member or staff. Each speaker must limit his or her comments to the subject matter listed on the speaker's request form and must refrain from personal attacks toward any individual. Council cannot discuss or debate any issue brought forth at this time, nor can any formal action be taken, as it is not a posted agenda item in accordance with the open meetings law. First up is Eugenia Dean. Subject is Skyline Mobile Home Estates. Ms. Dean?
Yes, sir. Some people know me as Eugenia Eccles, and some people as Eugenia Dean. I was Eugenia Eccles, now I'm Eugenia Dean. I've lived at Skyline Mobile Home Estates for 21 years, and this is the first time that my home has ever been the water. The fire department usually unloads a boat in front of my house, and they're safe there, and they unload the boat there and go back and get the people out. As soon as the water comes up, it usually goes down. I want to talk about the creek. We've talked about the creek for a long time. I've been on the board before. I found out that the creek goes through private property, but the creek itself is not private property. The banks are private property, but the creek is not. The water that runs through it does not belong to us. And we've asked and asked and asked for years, please help us clean out that creek. Please help us with above and below us. We've not gotten any help in the 21 years that I've been there. And now I've lost everything. Memories I still have in my heart, but the home is gone. I want to go home. They say I can't go home. I still have water. My electric is still where I can turn it back on. I want to move a new home in there. I want to live there. That's my home. That's my little piece of Texas. I'm concerned about, I don't know how long I have. How long do I have? I'm concerned if we aren't allowed to go back home, the taxes. What's going to happen with the city, county, and school taxes? Also, getting monies from places to fix the creek. Seems like there would be more places that y'all can get money from to fix the creek than it would be to get money to buy us out. It'd be faster for y'all to get money from someplace else to fix the creek than it would be to get the money to buy us out. And also, the mobile home park that is next to us, there used to be two, Banner and White Creek. I think it's gone just to one, to White Creek. That is rental property. That is their livelihood. I'm not speaking for them, but that is their livelihood, to rent those lots out. And that's hurting them. They were hurt this time too. This is the first time I've known that they were hurt in the years that I've been there. And I've been on the board twice out there. And I've been through many floods out there. And I want to know when this is going to be on the docket, when y'all are going to bring this up, when it's going to be spoke about, when all these things are going to be addressed. And I would like the names of all the city council members so that I can talk with them individually, if I might be able to get those. I do know one person on the city council for quite a few years now. So I think I can get a hold of her. But I I'd like the rest of y'all's names and phone numbers so I can call you and talk to you. I've talked to the city manager at length about several of these problems, and but I know that this has to be put on the docket for y'all to talk about this and for these things to be brought up. But these are some concerns. Am I going to pay taxes on a piece of property I can't live on? And some of the other things I know are amongst ourselves, it being a Skyline Mobile Home Estates, a condominium regime. It's not Skyline Mobile Home Park. It's Skyline Mobile Home Estates condominium regime. We own our own land out there. And we're responsible for our own tie-ins to the water, to the sewer, to the gas, electricity. And that's amongst ourselves. We pay a condo fee which is for water, sewer, trash, and upkeep on the park. That we pay that to the 5 members that we trust, 5 landowners that we trust to maintain that, just as y'all maintain the city, that we voted y'all in to pay the bills, keep the city running. And so that's amongst us. And we plan on dealing with that. But, you know, I do want these things addressed and put on the docket because I think these are some very important things. There's still a lot of people living out there that don't have water, but they have no place else to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dean. Next speaker is Nita Hooper. The subject is flood. Ms. Hooper? Please give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Nita Hooper. I live at 5772 Fenway Court. I think I can speak for the other neighbors where we would like to get some answers. We've been getting rhetoric. We've been getting told. On July 3rd, we were told that the focus was to condemn homes and destroy them before they fell into the creek. And then a little while later, we were told that that person misspoke. We're getting a lot of different information here. We've been waiting for 7 years for the Army Corps of Engineers to do a study. 7 years. I can't understand why it would take that long. Now, I have 3 small grandchildren living at my home that attends Spicer Elementary School. I need to know where my grandkids are going to be going to school when school starts. I need to know if I need to move on. I need to know if it's repairable, if we can fix it. I mean, there's our home. We're in the middle of painting the living room. Do we stop? Do we continue? What do we do? We just want answers. Is the city going to help us or not? Are we on our own? Do we need to look into hiring someone to come out there to get an idea what it would cost? Is it fixable? Can we afford it? We just don't know which way to turn. We just want answers. And I don't think it's going to take another 7 years to get those answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hooper. Next speaker is Layla Caraway. Subject is safety.
My subject goes along with actually both of these ladies' subject. You've already mentioned the setting up something on our property. 6 of our 8 property owners are here. We would like that immediately. We had kids up there yesterday sinking into the ground. We still have chunks falling off every day. We can't afford now, we can't afford to live anywhere else, and we can't afford to live in our home. We can't afford for someone's children to be injured out there. We've got no patrols in the park. So we're needing some help with that. And like Nita says, we want answers. Like this lady says, we'd like to be on the docket as well. And we'd like to know when that would be. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Caraway. Just FYI, I think Chuck addressed early on in this meeting that we were going to be contacting some of the homeowners there about safety issues. So, yeah. So, okay. And also, if you will, meet with Chuck Barnett after the meeting there, and he can discuss those things on the side, okay? Next speaker is Chris Reed of the Haltom City Law Enforcement Association. Subject matter is inquiry on the job pay. On the job injury, okay, I'm sorry, on the job injury and pay?
Yes.
Is that, okay, all right, Chris.
Yes, sir. It's basically, my name is Chris Reed. I'm the president of Haltom City Law Enforcement Association, about 70 members out of 100 employees at the department. I've been here before, and basically what I'm here about is the same thing that I was here about in April, which is pay raises. We've got several guys who haven't gotten a raise in 5 years, and the list gets bigger every year. And injury on the job, which has been a sticking point for 3 years. And the part that is so frustrating about that is that basically everybody agrees with us when we say, hey, you know, if one of our guys gets hurt in a fight trying to make an arrest or whatever, you know, it shouldn't cost him money, and everybody agrees, but it's still 3 years later and we still haven't got that fixed. At the last meeting, people from the leadership of the city said, you know, within a matter of days, you'll get an email. We're reviewing the charter. We're going to make some changes. We need you to get that back to us after y'all look at it so we can move forward with that. That was 3 months ago. I still haven't seen that. And the last thing, again, is pay raises, getting them on the day that you're supposed to, and that's a citywide deal. You know, my pay raise came the day after a pay period started, so I got paid at the wrong rate for 13 days. I'm aware that some of y'all work at a city or at a company where you don't get your pay raise on a day where you need it or where you're supposed to get it. But our sticking point with that basically is there's not many reasons that we can tell young people who come to look for a job, you should come work for Haltom City because of this, because we don't pay competitive as it is right now, and there's not many other things that we can point at and say we don't pay competitive, but at least we do this and this and this. Instead, it's to the contrary. You know, we don't pay competitive, but when you do get a raise, you're not going to get it on the day that you should, and if you do get hurt, it's going to cost you money. I did speak with Ms. Beckett outside. It was very encouraging about what she was saying about injury on the job and the salary in the upcoming budget. But I've had encouraging conversations before, so I'm basically just coming back and visiting with you all again, saying this is still an issue that is very important to us, and you know, I'd like to see something done towards solving it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Just a reminder, Chris, just like the last time, the injury on job issue is a charter issue. The state of Texas allows charter amendments to be done twice a year, in May and November, and we do want to address that in the next charter election. I will repeat my personal opposition to having employment policy in the charter itself. I think that's a poor device, and there is never, ever a guarantee of a correct outcome, no matter whether you have that policy in the charter or not. As you can, observe now with the injury to police, I will tell you that I'm sure there was no intent by the people who put that language in the charter to have this kind of effect. But that's what happens when you put things in writing down. They can cut different ways at different times, and so I would encourage you to reconsider that your position on that, because it's going to be it's not going to guarantee you a good outcome every time So, and thank you again for your input there. Next speaker is Kenneth Reese, question of accountability. Ms. Reese?
I'm not as good of a speaker as Mr. Reed is, so I'm going to read what I have. My name's Kenneth Reese. I reside at 5617 Bonnie Wayne Street here in Haltom City. I'm a former employee of this city and now the spouse of a council member. Most important of all, I'm a taxpayer. 3 years ago, I made a promise to my wife that I'd keep my mouth shut and I'd keep my opinions to myself while she was in office. My wife came home from a council meeting 2 weeks ago, emotionally distraught. And because whatever happened took place in executive session, she couldn't even share that with me. I decided that enough's enough. I'm breaking that promise tonight. It's become apparent that this council is intimidated by the sheer amount of information that my wife has come to know concerning employees and incidents that have happened. If you're looking for a scapegoat or a troublemaker, it's me. In the years that I worked for this city, I made a lot of friends in all departments and a few good acquaintances, and people talk. Some of the things I hear, I tell my wife. Some I don't. When it affects a certain city department or the city as a whole, she brings it to the attention of the city manager. She's lucky to get a response. When she requests a specific item to be placed on the agenda, our city manager puts on there what he feels is appropriate. And my question is, who works for whom? There's been questions about misuse of city property, such as using certain equipment for purposes other than what it was approved for by the budget. Why is the practice constantly over?
Please keep comments down out there. Let's let the man speak, please. Go ahead, Ken.
There have been questions about misuse of city property, such as certain equipment used for purposes other than what it was approved for in the budget. And my question on that is, why is the practice constantly overlooked and allowed to continue? Number 3, there's been allegations of intimidation or retaliation against some city employees for circumventing their so-called chain of command. What's an employee to do when the chain of command is broken all the way to the top? Some voice their opinions, and they're simply ignored. And in the last 5 years since I left this city, I've seen over 100 years of experienced personnel go somewhere else. Not all of them retired. They just couldn't take it anymore. We also hear about in the media all the time about how a department head or a police officer has been arrested, or they're under some kind of an investigation for a criminal act, and they're put on administrative leave pending the outcome of that investigation. Our city manager and our mayor have been aware of an investigation of our police chief since March. The council was not informed until May. My question is, why was the council not notified of this investigation? And why is the chief allowed to remain in authority as the top police officer of our city? Each member of this council has been elected by the people of this city to serve in the best interest of the city. And it's known that the council is divided. We've got a couple that can't get over the past council's regime, a few that with more interest in the future political aspirations, and ones in the middle that are sitting on the fence. The others can't get anything done because they cannot do it alone. Something my dad always told me is when you got one foot in the past and one in the future, y'all know the rest of that story. And I tell you, my last comment on here is is not meant as a jab. It's meant as this council is like an ostrich. Trouble comes our way, we stick our head in the sand. We want to believe that there's not problems out there, but there's problems out there, and they're getting bigger and bigger. And it makes everybody look bad. And I tell you what, I don't care what anybody says or anybody does, you're not going to run me out of Haltom City. And she's not going anywhere either. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Anyone else want to speak? We have a 3-minute time limit if you didn't sign up, but Mr. Fowler, will you come introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 3 minutes?
Yes.
Trey Fowler, 6217 Midway, Fort Worth, Texas. Wanted to commend our drainage utility crew for, they've been down working on some parts in the south end of town and have done an excellent job. Every time I see them, they're busy. But I guess I have a question for council and staff, and you may not even be aware of it. It's really kind of bothered me after all the flooding issues and the problems that we've had. At the corner of Thomas Road and Midway, we had a former nursing home or facility there that the city had condemned. It had been boarded up for a long time. One of our local churches owns that property, and I don't know that y'all are aware of it or not. But after the condemnation, the church, I guess, didn't have the funding to demolish that building. And I happen to have a business down on Midway, which I'm sure y'all are all aware. And I looked for about 2 weeks. I wondered why the drainage utility crew was down on Thomas Road and Midway tearing down a building with all the track hose and all the equipment that we have instead of cleaning out creeks and doing the things that I feel like we needed to be doing. I called, asked some of the staff the question. They weren't really aware of what was going on, I think. I guess it enlightened them.
You think those guys were down there working without anybody knowing about it? Is that what your allegation is?
No, sir. I think that probably different parts of the staff knew about it and other parts didn't.
Okay.
No, the person that I spoke to didn't know that was taking place. And I'm just curious as a taxpayer. We all pay as residents and commercial property owners. We all pay the drainage utility fee, and I'm curious on how you can use a drainage utility fee for demolishing private buildings or private sector property. And so I guess that's what I wanted to make y'all aware of. Is that a policy that we have in place now to where we can use a fund that's described or specific for a certain, which I was under the assumption when the drainage utility was passed that it was for improving our drainage. And now they're down there. I see them down demoing buildings. So I'm just curious at what that fund is to be utilized for.
Be happy to discuss
Share
that.
with me. Okay. Thank you.
But not here.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Pardon? I can't. It's against the law. Ms. Dean, you've already had some. Is this just a? I'll allow this one time. Make it very, very brief. Just a minute or so, please.
Yes. Wanted to address what what Trey was just saying. If you've got this, why aren't y'all cleaning out our creek? Why are y'all?
I can't.
Why
I'll be glad to take this up after Neat. But we can't discuss this in public.
Yeah,
forum like
I
this.
think that needs
It's
to
against
be
the law.
Discussed. I think that creek needs to be cleaned out.
Tell you what,
I
why don't
wanna
you go ahead
home.
and just make that a item for the next an agenda item? I'd be real happy to address that.
Because I really want to go home.
Well, I'm telling you, I'll be real happy to address that.
Because there's a
real pleased.
car upside down behind my house that you can see the axles of, and so water can't flow because there's a car upside down in the creek and all kinds of debris in the creek, so the water can't flow. So that's one reason why we flooded out there.
Okay, I was under the impression the car had been moved a long time ago, but we'll check that out.
No, sir, my husband just saw it the other day. I
Okay.
just talked to
All
the
right.
city manager Friday, and told him, and he said he would get someone out there to check it out.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anyone else from the Visitors Citizen Forum? You want to come up? Just give us your name and address. You don't have to bring that up. Get 3 minutes and tell us what's on your mind.
All right. My name's Deborah Hart, and I live in a mobile home, Skyline Mobile Homes. And what I'd like to know is, I can't move back into my trailer because I don't have any water. My trailer is just gone, totally gone. But what I'd like to know is what they're going to do with my land, and why do I have to still pay condo fee when I don't have any water and when I can't live there? And I'd just like to know if I can sell my land or what's going to happen to it. And in my trailer, what do I have to do with my trailer? Do I have to move it myself, or is somebody going to move it, or what's I need to know what I need to do.
Okay, I can address some of those things after the meeting. I can't do that in a public forum here. It's just,
Okay.
can't do that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a little suggestion. As I'm looking out on the faces of many of the new faces that are visiting with us tonight, seen a lot of raised eyebrows after the comment about why we couldn't talk about it. Maybe it would be a good idea to explain that a little bit
Wayne,
so that they understand.
Would you enlighten some of our newcomers?
Yeah, that might be misinterpreted, but the issue is with the Open Meetings Act. The state law in Texas says that the city council is not supposed to take action or deliberate about any matter of public business unless it's properly posted on an agenda. And what Haltom City has done traditionally for years is have a visitors and citizens forum where we allow people to bring to the attention of the council issues that are important to them. But since those issues aren't posted with any specificity, it's impossible for us to anticipate in advance what the topic's going to be for discussion. So what we have to do is either meet with the individuals after the meeting and answer their questions, or give them information pertaining to their issues, or put it on a future agenda that is properly posted for discussion. And that's what the mayor was alluding to tonight when these issues came up in the Visitors and Citizens Forum without proper posting.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
And thank you, Chris. All right, anyone else have a issue to bring before the council tonight? Seeing none, I'll close the Visitor Citizens Forum and move on to the next items on the agenda, which is the Boards and Commissions section. Item 7, resignation of board members. Is there any resignations? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, which is the appointment, reappointment to boards and commissions. Ms. Branson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to appoint Temple Cowell, who goes by Ike, to the Parks and Rec Board.
Any discussion? Please register your vote to affirm or not. That is unanimous affirmation. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 reappointments. I wish to name them all at once if there's no, if no one has any reason not to. For the Zoning Board of Adjustments, I wish to reappoint Wayne Iverson. For the Parks and Recreation Board, I wish to nominate Steve Miles for reappointment. And for the Beautification Board, I wish to nominate Allison Roach, all for reappointments.
Any discussion? Please register your vote. That is unanimous affirmation. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a reappointment and a new appointment. For the reappointment, I'd like to reappoint Bayjoy Turner to the Fire Services Board. For the new appointment, I'd like to nominate Carl Grassel, who has an application in the city for the Crime Control and Prevention Board.
Any discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. And tonight we have two members who are absent, and so we will need to take a vote to consider regarding this an excused absence or not. Have a motion? Mr. Holcomb?
Move to excuse.
Ms. Branson?
I'll second excusing both members.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to excuse Mr. Clark and Mr. Cabano tonight. Any discussion? Please register your vote. And that is unanimous. We have no further executive session items, and so this meeting is adjourned.